Hey YouTube, Osmane9Slicer here. I'm going to do a deck profile for you guys this time. It's been a while, but there hasn't been a whole lot of changes for my decks for a little while. From the new set, we've got, of course, the big highlights of the Six Samurai and the Nordic stuff, which I'm doing both Nordic and the Legendary Six Samurai. The Nordic the Six Sam stuff I'm doing is focusing more on the new stuff than anything. So if you guys see a video about that, I won't be using stuff like Grandmaster and stuff like that. And I've been called stupid for it, but it's just the way I want to do it. Um, as well, if I do a deck video today for the Six Samurai deck, it also includes Extreme Victory stuff, just so you guys know. Okay, for the Nordic stuff, out of the Aesir synchros, my favorite one is Odin, which it's kind of hard to see him due to the reflection, but I thought he was the coolest one out of the group. I didn't really care too much about his attack. He could have been the weakest one, and I wouldn't have cared. Currently, I have an ultimate rare one, a ultra rare one, and then currently a proxy, which I'm hoping to get a ghost rare to take that spot. So I have one of each rarity. That's just my goal for that. As well, this is not supposed to be a competitive Nordic deck in any manner. It's a fun one, and it does relatively well, but it's mostly for a fun deck. So I didn't really want to make it kind of like an asshole deck like what Konami's trying to get us to do it. As well, I do have a more competitive version I'm working on that works off of a fairy engine. But starting off, of course, I've got the 3 Odin, which if you guys know anything about how I do my extra decks, it's going to be basically focusing on the archetype I'm working with. If I get more synchros, it would just be basically Thor and Loki, which I would have one of each. First up, I have 3 Tyr. He's a nice, good beater. Enough said, really, there. Next up is Zidlosov. I run 2 of her. She can make a big difference, especially if you've already gotten out one of the Aesir monsters. Tangra Sneer, which he's really good. He basically allows for an auto sync with the next card coming up, which is Venatus, which I'm still looking for 3 of, which is very difficult to do, especially since everyone's hoarding her, and as well she's a very expensive card. Next up is Garmer, which he's actually really rather nice, especially if you combine him with certain other cards, as well just simply the fact that he's got a nice defense and his bounce ability. Then you've got Tonjoster. He's really nice if you make good usage of his effects. This one I've heard people basically compare to toilet paper and stuff like that on a few websites and stuff like that, which is Mimir. Mimir is a lot better than people give him credit for. A lot of the time when I'm playing, he is the key that allows me to get Odin out. Then the next one, which most people are only running one of this beautiful super rare, and their decks is Valkyrie. I'm running 3. I really like her, and I like to make good usage of her effect. As well, there's really no other faster way to get out something like Odin, because she's a first turn Odin if you have the right materials in your hand, which the vast majority of the time I do. Next we have Diverge, which Diverge is really good as well due to the fact of that extra normal summon, which can make a big difference. Now into spells, this is my favorite tech card for this deck, and people are really annoyed by this and admit it's very effective, which is Creature Swap. Basically, you creature swap something like this little guy and then attack that guy with Odin. You just did a shit ton of damage to your opponent. So, next up, Dark Hole. Dark Hole works well in this deck because of Odin's effect to make himself impervious to it. The next card I plan to eventually replace with Burial from a different dimension, but I haven't had any luck getting a hold of one yet. So right now, this is one of the next best things is Light of Redemption. It at least lets me get back something like Valkyrie, so I can reuse her. Lightning Vortex, Staple, Monster Reborn, General Staple, Mystical Space Typhoon, Staple. Then this one, a lot of people don't really care about, but it helps out a lot more than most people really think, which is the Nordic Relic Dropnir. You don't get its search ability off that often, but it does happen every once in a while. And as well, just that extra boost that you can give to your Nordic monsters can make the big difference, especially if you equip it with Tyr, which makes them a 2800 attack monster. Then Swords, General Staple. Then 3 Nordic Lights. People have complained saying this is one of the most broken field spells out there, but it has a massive drawback with the fact that if it gets destroyed, it blows up all your Nordic monsters. So it's a give-take kind of relationship. Then we've got the traps, Call of the Haunted, General Staple. I'm only running 1 Gleipnir. I would kind of like another one, but that's mostly if I can just pull it, but whatever. Then there's the Nordic Relic Racing. It helps a little. I don't make a massive usage of it. I'm probably going to end up replacing it with something else. Then, seeing as this is an Odin deck, I really wanted to use Nordic Relic Gungnir, which is actually really a pretty nice card if you make good usage of it. Then this is another card that I don't think is getting the due credit, which is Odin's Eye. After all, your ACR monsters, their effects are useless on your opponent's turn. So you might as well make some usage out of that lack of ability to use their effect. So by negating their effect, you get to find out what all your opponent's cards in their hand are and their set cards. And your opponent can't activate anything in response to activating its effect. So I think it's a really good card, and it's been game changing like none other when I've played. Then we've got Wabaku, which is just my replacement instead of having a Threatening Roar, since I'm running low on Threatening Roars. So that is my Nordic deck. If you guys agree with me that Konami tried to overhype the Nordic monsters when they did their article about them facing X-Sabers, please comment about that. As well, if you guys really start playing these decks, you'll find out that they're actually relatively easy to counteract. Even Odin's relatively easy to counteract. So, really, they're not as powerful as what they're trying to make them out to be. Either way, this is Awesome89 Slicer signing out.